story that you've created and show me that you know the elements of plot. So, by clicking on this assignment, it will take you to what looks like a blank document other than the directions that are here. So let's take a look at the directions. First of all, the essential question is, how can all the elements of plot be incorporated into a narrative effectively? You are going to edit, revise, and identify all the elements of plot in your story. There will be zero conversation during the entire time of the final exam. So you may chat with me online only and no one else. Or if you need me, you can stay in your seat, raise your hand, and I'll come over to you to help you. It should be completed by the end of class. You need to stay in your desk. If you need to get up for any reason, again, just raise your hand. You should be working on this for most of the class time. However, if you do get done early, it's okay if you study for another class or read a book or something like that. The video directions, there will be a link here so that you can re-watch this video as many times as you need to. But let's skip down here to the rubric and take a look. These are the things you'll be graded on, and you'll want to try to stay in the 4 category. So the first thing is organization. The plot is thoroughly developed. The story is interesting. It's logically organized. There is a clear exposition, rising action, climax, and of course resolution or surprise ending. The setting is clearly described and you've used sensory language. The characters are well developed through dialogue, actions, and thoughts. This would include the narration of your story. All dialogue is realistic and advances the plot. It's meaningful. It shows characters' mannerisms, movements, and/or other traits. So you don't want to overdo it with your dialogue. You want minimal and you want meaningful. The conflict is clearly established, developed, and resolved. There's also a gripping climax. The rising action builds intensity or suspense up to that climax point of your story. You have a consistent point of view. You have carefully chosen transitions that guide the reader through your paper. And to get a 4 in the grammar and spelling mechanics area, there should be very few errors. So you are allowed to have some, but not, just very few. They should not distract me from reading. I might catch the errors and know that something's not correct, but they shouldn't totally distract me when I'm reading your paper. All right, so the first thing you want to do is open up your groups paper, copy and paste it into this assignment. So what I'm going to do is open up the example paper. I'm going to pretend like this is my groups paper. I'm going to just, quickly, the easiest and quickest way to do this is select all, copy, and then I can go back to the final exam here. I'm just going to hit return one time, go to edit, and hit paste. And the whole paper will be here. So here's my whole entire paper. Now, the reason it's so important that you copy and paste into this document is because if I go here as a teacher and look for revisions, the only revisions on the final exam that I will see are the ones that you have done. So when I click to see revisions, if I see other people's here, that means someone else was on your paper during the final exam. So be sure that when you go to your paper, again, the easiest way is to click on Edit, and then select all, Edit Copy, and then you'll go back to the final exam assignment, Edit, and Paste. Okay, back to the directions. I'm going to get rid of this so I don't get confused. After you copy and paste it, you're going to start highlighting your paper using this color coding below. And we talked about this briefly in class. But your exposition, you will highlight green. So on here, this is already done. And I will show you quickly how to highlight, even though I think you probably already know. You're just going to drag your mouse over the exposition. And then you're going to click here on this A, and you want to click on highlight. And since this is the exposition, we want it green, so I'll just check on the green. So again, you click on this A right here, make sure you click on highlight, and then click on the color that you want. If you don't click on highlight, it's automatically on text to begin with, which is black, so the text is black. So make sure it's highlight and the color you want. So then you'll go through your 3 rising action events and highlight them yellow. Make sure you label them R1, R2, R3. You have to have at least 3 rising action events. If you have more, that's great, but you do not have to label them. So on this paper, I've gone through, and right here is rising action 1. So what I did is I went up to the font and I changed the text color to red and click on the B to make it bold. So I'm going to delete this and show you that first thing you want to do is click on text and make it red and then bold. Whoops. And then in parentheses I just put R1. And then you'll read through your story. This is all one action here. Here's the next action. And then here's the third action. Climax should be in orange, falling action in red, resolution in purple. When I'm highlighting on here, so if I want this to be, this is the climax and it's going to be in orange, I'm going to click on highlight. I'm just using this top row of colors because it's just easier for me. So you don't have to dig through these colors and choose one you want. Just click along the top line here. Okay, in blue, your sensory language. So you will probably have several areas where there's sensory language, but you are to pick out the best sensory language that your paper has and highlight it in blue. And then what you feel is your best piece of dialogue, you're just going to leave that white. So the only thing on your paper that's white is, so you can see everything's colored except for here. Your dialogue is going to stand out to me because it's not going to be highlighted. Everything else on here is highlighted. Everything. And then we'll go down to right here, and this was the dialogue. I'm sorry, that's the resolution. The sensory is what I'm looking for, which is blue, and I think I made it orange. It was up here. There was a good example of it here. So you're going to have all these colors in your paper somewhere. You're going to have only a chunk of dialogue that's white, and everything will be colored in. Now, as you're reading through your story, if you find out that some of this is missing or that it could be better, this is your chance to revise it, make it your own, and make it the best. This is your final exam grade. So if you feel like for some reason when you were in your group, you didn't get the narrative to where it should be, this is your chance to do that. So you can make as many changes as you want to this paper. This is now your own and it's your final exam. Okay, after completing that, you're going to do a written response at the bottom of your paper. So you're going to tell me who the protagonist was and how they dealt with the major conflict, who the antagonist was and how they caused complications or conflicts, and then you're going to tell me what the theme of your story is. So at the bottom of your paper, and I'm just going to get rid of this because I copied and pasted it twice and didn't need to. But at the bottom you're going to have protagonist, colon. Blah, blah, blah is the protagonist. He or she had to deal with. Here's how they dealt with it. Antagonist. Such and such is the antagonist. The problems they caused were whatever. And then the theme of my story is, and this is how my protagonist was able to overcome adversity and become successful. Because we wanted to focus on someone overcoming an adverse situation and becoming successful. Now, you can go up here once you're completely done to Tools and Spelling and do a spell check. So this will go through the story and tell me what's wrong and what I need to change. If this is wrong and I want it to look like this, I just click and hit change. If it's correct, then I can just hit ignore and it will leave it alone. And that will do your entire paper for you. I strongly suggest that you do that spelling check. Another thing you might want to do, there's a dictionary that you can use if you want to look up words. And there used to be a synonym tool, but I don't see that now. So maybe that's not part of Google anymore. Again, I just want to reiterate that you can make any changes you want on this. It's your final paper. This is not based on your group's work. It's only based on your work. So the final product you turn in is the paper that you are doing and turning into me, and you're not going to be able to go back and say, well, this is what my group did, because I'm giving you a chance to go back and fix it and do whatever you want to do to it. Make sure that your dialogue is correct as far as your quotation marks and your punctuation. Pay special attention to that. And again, if you have any questions while you're completing the exam, you can chat me or raise your hand and I'll come to you. And you can watch this video as many times as you need to if you forget something or need to be reminded. Good luck. I wish you the best, and I'm sure you're all going to do wonderful.